The largest financial heist in human history is underway, and your life savings are the target. The United States is carrying a debt load of $37 trillion. A figure so vast, it eclipses the annual economic output of the entire planet from just a generation ago. And the establishment has no intention of paying it back. They plan to make it vanish. Not by raising your taxes or cutting services, but through a silent, calculated devaluation of the very currency in your pocket. The mechanism for this grand erasure. Two assets most believe operate outside government control: Bitcoin and gold. You are witnessing the rollout of the most advanced debt cancellation scheme ever conceived. They are constructing a parallel monetary framework, amassing strategic holdings in digital and physical stores of value, preparing to officially reprice these assets at astronomical multiples. This revaluation will, on paper, balance a national ledger that is mathematically impossible to settle. But here is the terrifying part for you. When they artificially inflate the value of gold and crypto, they are deliberately deflating the purchasing power of your dollars. Every single dollar you possess will buy less. Every bond you hold becomes a promise of repayment in worthless paper. Your entire savings account will effectively evaporate. You are about to be legally robbed, and you may not even see it coming. This video will expose the precise mechanics of this strategy. Not conjecture, but the documented playbook of debt destruction through strategic reserve repricing. I will reveal the historical blueprint this has occurred before. I will show you the current actions, the official directives, the quiet accumulation. And I will outline the expected timeline for this reset, its velocity, and the essential moves you must make before the window slams shut. This isn't a distant threat. The gears are in motion today. Let's begin with a fundamental truth most overlook. Sovereign debt is nothing like personal debt. When you owe money, you must settle it with actual labor or assets. A government that controls its currency can simply rewrite the rulebook. It can alter the definition of a dollar's worth. It can reappraise the assets it owns. It can make towering obligations disappear without a single payment. This is the essence of a monetary reset, a recurring theme across centuries. Let me illustrate with a past example. In 1933, America was suffocating under the weight of World War I debt and the Great Depression. The national debt relative to the economy's size was a crushing 40% and rising. Economic activity had seized up. So, President Franklin Roosevelt executed a drastic maneuver. He legally revalued gold, not marginally, but by a staggering 69% in a single day. Here was the method. For over half a century, the official gold price was fixed at $20.67 per ounce. Your dollar was a direct title to a specific weight of gold. But the Treasury was insolvent, unable to honor its commitments at that price. Roosevelt's infamous Executive Order 6102 made it a crime for American citizens to possess gold bullion. People were compelled to surrender their gold to the government for the official rate of $20.67. Once the metal was centralized, the real move happened. In 1934, the new official price was declared: $35 per ounce, a 69% upward revaluation overnight. The government, now holding the majority of the nation's gold, saw its reserves book value explode. At the old price, their holdings were valued around $4 billion. At the new price, the same gold was suddenly worth nearly $7 billion. They conjured almost $3 billion in accounting value from nothing but a policy decree. The crucial part? The national debt was owed in dollars, and those dollars were now significantly weaker against gold. The real debt burden plummeted from 40% of GDP to just 25% within 5 years. They wiped away 15 points of debt to GDP by revaluing gold and devaluing the currency. The citizens who obediently turned in their gold watched its value soar, but they were legally barred from repurchasing it. They were left holding devalued dollars while the government used their confiscated asset to erase its obligations. This is the established playbook, and it is being activated again right now. The current U.S. debt stands at $37 trillion. The debt-to-GDP ratio has hit 132%, a level unmatched in peacetime history. The yearly interest payment alone is a staggering $1.2 trillion, eclipsing defense spending. With interest rates elevated, this figure is projected to hit $1.8 trillion annually within a few years. This trajectory is unmanageable. Every official body knows it. There is no plausible scenario where this debt is repaid through conventional growth, taxation, or austerity. Devaluation is the sole remaining exit, but outright money printing is too obvious. It triggers immediate hyperinflation and a collapse of confidence. They require a more elegant, less visible method, something that appears legitimate, even savvy. This is where Bitcoin and gold re-enter the stage. Observe what is unfolding currently. In early 2025, a key executive order was signed, establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. The directive authorizes the Treasury to obtain and custody Bitcoin as a strategic national asset, akin to the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. The public rationale is about leading in digital innovation and competing with global rivals like China. That is the cover story. The true objective is different. The U.S. government already controls roughly 210,000 Bitcoin, largely seized from illicit operations. At a price of $100,000 per coin, that's $21 billion. It's a significant sum, but a rounding error against a $37 trillion debt. However, the new policy framework doesn't just involve holding existing coins. It mandates acquisition. The proposed target, as per legislation, is 1 million Bitcoin within 5 years. At current prices, that's a $100 billion outlay. But they aren't planning to buy it all on the open market. That would rocket the price and cost a fortune. They are acquiring it through seizures from ongoing cases, accepting it as settlement for fines, and potentially even mining it using federal resources. They are accumulating silently because the goal isn't to buy at today's prices. The goal is to hold a massive stockpile before they revalue it. Let's project how this revaluation could unfold. Suppose the U.S. secures 1 million Bitcoin over 3 years at an average cost of $120,000 each. Total cost, $120 billion. They accumulate discreetly. Then, they announce the strategic reserve is live. They hold 1 million Bitcoin, and for official balance sheet purposes, they value it not at the market price, but at $1 million per coin. A tenfold revaluation in an instant. Their $120 billion investment is now valued at $1 trillion on the government's books. They have magically created $880 billion in accounting value. But this isn't just legerdemain. When the world's dominant economic power declares Bitcoin is worth $1 million for its reserves, the global market responds. If the U.S. Treasury establishes that floor backed by its authority, the market will gradually reprice. Bitcoin may not hit 1 million overnight, but it could surge to 300, then 500, then 800,000. And as Bitcoin's price ascends, what occurs to the dollar? It craters. The upward revaluation of Bitcoin is the downward devaluation of the dollar. They are two sides of the same coin. Now, let's examine gold, because Bitcoin alone is insufficient. A two-pronged assault is necessary. The U.S. officially holds over 8,000 tons of gold, approximately 261 million ounces. At a market price of $2,800 an ounce, that's over $730 billion. Yet, on the government's official balance sheet, this gold is valued at $42 per ounce, a statutory price set decades ago. On the books, the gold reserve is worth a mere $11 billion. Why this massive discrepancy? It creates the room for a colossal revaluation. Imagine the U.S. announces a new official gold valuation not to the market price, but far beyond it. They declare that for strategic reserve and debt backing purposes, gold will be valued at $20,000 per ounce. Why that number? Because the math demands it. At $20,000 per ounce, the U.S. gold reserves are worth $5.2 trillion. They have just generated $5.2 trillion in balance sheet value from an asset they already owned. Combine this with the Bitcoin revaluation. 1 million Bitcoin at $1 million each equals 1 trillion. 261 million ounces of gold at $20,000 equals 5.2 trillion. Total new balance sheet value, $6.2 trillion. This is enough asset value to technically offset a massive portion of the national debt, making the government's financial position appear solvent. And once the U.S. revalues gold to $20,000, the global market follows suit. The price may not instantly hit $20,000, but it will climb to $5,000, then $8,000, then $12,000. And as gold and Bitcoin soar, the dollar's purchasing power is annihilated. If gold goes from $2,800 to $20,000, the dollar loses 85% of its value relative to gold. If Bitcoin goes from $100,000 to $1 million, the dollar loses 90%. The average person doesn't track gold or crypto, they track the cost of living. And those costs are about to skyrocket. When the dollar loses most of its value against hard assets, it loses half or more of its value against everything else: food, fuel, housing. Let's make this personal. If you have $100,000 in savings, you feel secure. The reset occurs. Over the following 3 years, real inflation runs at 20% annually. Groceries double. Gasoline doubles. Rent jumps 60%. Your $100,000 now has the purchasing power of $35,000 from before. You've lost 65% of your wealth. But the government's $37 trillion debt, in real terms, adjusted for the inflation they engineered, is now equivalent to only $13 trillion. They have erased $24 trillion in real debt burden by destroying the currency it's denominated in. They have stolen $24 trillion from savers, creditors, and anyone holding dollars, and transferred it to themselves as debt relief. This is the strategy, and the initial moves are already visible. Your financial security is being sacrificed to save the state. The evidence is in the policy pipeline. Legislative proposals for a massive federal Bitcoin reserve have been introduced with cross-party support. The executive order has been signed. The narrative of a gold-backed dollar is being revived. This isn't about sound money. It's about justifying a massive gold revaluation. They are preparing the public and the markets for the reset. Internationally, other nations are also preparing. BRICS countries are aggressively accumulating gold and developing alternative financial systems. They see what is coming and are positioning themselves to benefit. The timeline is taking shape. 2025 is the accumulation phase. 2026 will likely see a manufactured debt crisis to justify extreme measures. 2027 is the projected revaluation phase, where the new prices are declared and the dollar's value collapses. If you are positioned by 2025, you protect yourself. If you are not, you will be financially devastated. The winners will be the government, early crypto and gold adopters, and those with hard assets. The losers will be the middle class, retirees on fixed incomes, bondholders, and anyone who trusted the system with their savings. So, what can you do? You must act now. First, exit dollar-denominated debt instruments. Long-term bonds are a trap. Second, move into hard assets. Own physical gold, not paper claims. Acquire Bitcoin if you understand and can secure it. Own productive real estate. Third, reduce your cash holdings to a small operational buffer. Fourth, diversify internationally, holding assets in stronger currencies. Fifth, develop practical skills and build a resilient community. Your ability to provide value will matter more than cash in a crisis. This is not fear-mongering. It is the logical conclusion of the numbers. The debt cannot be paid, so it will be erased. Your only choice is whether you will be on the side that is erased or the side that is preserved. If this perspective has shifted your understanding of the global economy, your support means everything. Please like this video to help others find it, and subscribe to Winds of Thought for clear analysis in a complex world. The time to prepare is now, before the final curtain falls on the current financial system.